No jet lag is 2 for 2 since coming to the United States from Her Majesty's Kingdom, Great Britain, the UK. And no jet lag coming off a win last time out in the City of Hope Mile and a very good time over this turf course, 1:31.4. This is no jet lag, going 5 furlongs at Santa Anita on Saturday and over the firm turf with Mike Smith up.
Yeah, very good time, 58.4, but is he doing it the right way? Not for me in a turf horse, and I'm shocked to see this workout. Bear in mind, I haven't seen this horse work before, but he's aggressive with Mike Smith. As Tom mentioned, you like to see a speed horse pulling, but not like this. This is a horse who in his races rates from off the pace. He's doing his work backwards. I just envision if he's around horses now, he's going to be more and more aggressive. So this is a cause for concern for me unless he works like this all the time. He's visually quicker the first part and slows down the last part. For me, not a perfect work.
I don't doubt that he's aggressive early in the work. There's no question about that. But what part of this work down the lane don't you like? Mike never moves on him. He continues that nice stride. I like this work.
Well, I mean, he finishes beautifully down the lane, except the work was backwards. He went the first 3/8 in under 34 seconds and kind of galloped home. It's really not the way you want the work to shape up. But by the way, you guys know why they call it working around the dogs?
No, I have no idea. Those cones?
Yeah, the cones. So back in the early 1900s, they first in the early 1900s, they let dogs on the track. They just ran free all over the racetrack.
Well, Tom, you remember that.
Yeah,
Okay, but go ahead, Donna.
Right, exactly. Well, Tom can tell you about it. But anyway, dogs just ran free all over the racetrack, and a lot of times they would gather in the infield, and they would sit in the infield and bark at the horses as they galloped, and as the horses would spook, they would spook around the dogs. And so when they started to put cones up, they called it like galloping around the dogs.
So for you two that didn't like the work was around the dogs. Obviously, if you're making that wide a turn around the dogs,
no,
the work is going to be slowed.
I did obviously work around
the work is going to be slowed by that.
Yeah.
So,
that was no jet lag.
I know who it is. The point I'm trying to make is you guys are criticizing a work on time. That is a bad move.
Okay.
It's an amateurish move.
He was talking about his behavior.
Here's your work times right here.
Wow.
Look,
Tom,
you can do that with
wow.
him. That horse worked great.
So you want him to
He's
go
that
fast
wide
to start
around
with?
the turn. He's that wide around the turn. Of course it's going to make the work look slower at the end than what it was.
No, it was slower at the end.
Because he was
slower.
around that wide turn.
Tom, listen up for a second. Just listen for a second.
You tell me when that work falls
Okay.
apart. His hands are quiet. He does everything right.
Yeah, but I don't like the way he's so aggressive in the early stage. I mean, if he worked in company or out of that, can you imagine him working like that?
Do you think he comes back to the rider
In
this
a
horse, in the work? Did he come back to him in the work?
Too late.
The wrong way.
If he came back to him in the first eighth of a mile,
I don't
great.
see it that way,
But he
guys.
came back to him after he went in 33 and 4.
You got to get away from these 33, 34s. That turf course is ridiculously quick. The point is that he never falls apart in the work. He continues to keep a strong hold against Mike Smith's hands. I like the work.
Okay, but here, I didn't look at the times. I used these. I used these blue eyes, and what I saw was a horse that was aggressive the first part and slowed up the second part. And my concern is if you're in a race situation like that, it's going to be a disaster. Now, the caveat you can make, real quick, Tom, the caveat you can make is if you look at the past performances, you see, this horse comes from off the pace. So that's the only thing I'll say.
Well,
Maybe
hold on
in a race he
you
learns
said
to relax.
something else, though. You left yourself out at the beginning. You said, I don't know if he works like this all the time. And I think that's something we need to touch on in the show. Everything we're bringing you, in most cases, is one work.
Right.
So if the horse normally works like that, and even if you see it as a negative, well, then it's not a negative.
Okay, and so this is a European horse, right? We're talking about a European horse. Now, you know from training that the European horses, when they're covered up, they relax. When they're not covered up, they take off.
That's what I'm saying.
They take off.
That's what I'm saying.
So how do we know that this isn't what he ordinarily does in the work? Because he's just going to take off.
Well, the bottom line is we have to agree to disagree because that is never ideal. You never want your work to start off faster than it finishes. So we just have to agree to
Especially
disagree.
in turf racing.
In my classroom, this horse gets an A.
Especially in turf race. I mean, 99% of turf races, right? They're slow early and fast late. It's the reverse of dirt. They're fast early and slow late.